1140 The Fan.
Talkin Money!
And we're back to Talkin Money. And here's Jeff Tarbell.
How are you? 339-1140 if you want to jump in. 1-800-920-1140. You can text me at 441140. My phone screener said, what the hell did you say? I didn't get your answer. My answer to the last question, last caller, which was a complex answer, the short answer was, I don't think he owes the money. The gentleman called and said he had a first and a second. He was foreclosed on an investment property. And, what happens? Why is the second still calling? So there's an order in which you're foreclosed on and who forecloses on you, and all the rights that go with that too. And investment properties are way different than primary residences too. So there's different rules that follow them. There's different rules as far as tax rules in terms of what you can avoid paying and all kinds of things. So investment properties are their own animal. My gut reaction is that he doesn't owe the second. But my second gut reaction is it's worth probably a phone call to an attorney just to ask him if he believes it's the same thing, because if nothing else, it will just annoy you forever to keep getting those calls. So I hope that clears that up just a little bit. My question before the break there was in the discussion of online or e-commerce for U.S. retail sales. So, we got a few answers here. We'll take the closest one, which was from the 916. But just out loud, what do you think? What would your gut reaction be? How much online sales are there, throughout the year? Chris, did you know the answer?
No, I thought 40%.
40. See, I would have guessed about a third if you'd asked me. I would have said a third. What was your thought there, phone screener? She had a bigger number than that, but the answer is only 4.6%. So it's a very small number. I bet during the holidays that jumps up. And all 4.6% might be in a 60-day window. But so out of all sales, so we'll take the 7% we had on the text line there at 441140. But
I told Marge that everything I'm wearing right now is from the internet.
Is that right? Yeah, all your internet. So 100% of your stuff comes from the internet, huh? So anyway, I thought that was a very small number. Obviously, if you look at the trend line, of course in 1999 it was basically zero. So it's definitely on a steady up path, but there is still something about going out and going shopping, right? Putting your hands on. I know our phone screener just puked in her lap. So there's something about going shopping and getting pepper sprayed and getting beat over the head that just turns. But there is. I mean, shopping is an intoxication. It's some people just. I am not a shopper. I'm a buyer. So if I come into your store, I am not shopping. I am buying. I don't just walk around and look for stuff. So I'm a buyer. I'm not a shopper. But there are people who just love that adrenaline of shopping, and you'll never get that out of them, and e-commerce won't do it for them. So I did get a couple texts here regarding my question about the Postal Service. My started the show today asking just a general question at the 441140 text question of the day. Do you think the U.S. government should get out of the Postal Service entirely? Should we just let the Postal Service become its own entity? It is its own entity, but really not regulated by Congress. Just let it become a private business and let it do its own thing. The postmaster, Patrick Donahue, said in a recent statement, if Congress passes comprehensive legislation to provide us with more flexible business model, we can respond better to a changing marketplace. We won't lose money. Basically said, leave us alone. Let us do our own thing. You guys might be surprised. We might make $1. One of the texters here today said that in 2006, the Republican Congress passed a law to make the USPS fund pensions decades in advance for workers who are not even hired yet. So they're having to pre-fund pensions for future employees. Now, I haven't verified that. I'm sure that person knows exactly what they're talking about. So I'm not comparing the U.S. Postal Service in any way to Fannie or Freddie or the bank bailouts, because it's not the same. It is not the same. They really stand on their own. My point is, at this point in time, at this point in our history, I think we should I think the taxpayers and the Congress should just cut them loose. They are an entity. They have their own equipment. They have their own business model. Do what you guys want to do. Sink or swim, and leave Congress out of it. And I will bet you that most of the people that work in the Postal Service would agree with that. would love to just be left on their own. Now, stamps might be 58 cents if we did that. And that's okay, because then they have to compete with all of the other things that we do, right? Do I send a FedEx? Do I send a regular mail? Do I send an email? Do I walk over? Do I give them a call? You know, maybe postage. Maybe the real price for a postage should be $1. I don't know, and I don't care, because if you guys set your pricing, don't ask me for money, don't ask us for approval, and then I'll decide as a consumer whether I want to send out a postage card to my client once a month or once a year, or however I want to do that. So, but I agree with the postmaster. We should leave the guys alone and let them do their own thing. I did see couple interesting bits of news here. I still stand by my prediction that BlackBerry Research in Motion, they have just not had a good year. They have not had a good year. They've lost 70% of their market value this year. They just took a $485 million charge, basically a loss, for their tablets. You know, their version of the iPad. I mean, how sad is this? Even on their tablets, you can't even retrieve your email without toggling it to your BlackBerry. So you got to walk around with two hands. Here's my BlackBerry stuck on my head so I can get service and I can get my I mean, I don't get it. This company was killing everybody, and they were so far in advance of everybody that I don't understand what happened. But they just took their eye off the ball or something, and they have just gone down, down, down. So we'll see how much longer BlackBerry can make it. They might become the VCR of the past for us there. It's interesting. The jobless rate came out this week. Jobless rate nears a 3-year low. Unemployment falls to 8.6%, boosted by retail hiring. Now, there's interesting news in here. Let's pretend that there's 10 of us that line up to do a race, okay? And by the way, I'll have you note that in high school, I was the slowest guy in our entire high school. In fact, Kevin Negley and I had a race, and I lost to him. So they used to call me White Lightning for a reason. I was, in fact, the slowest guy in our high school. But let's pretend that 10 of us lined up for a race, and I was in that race. So I should become in 11th, right? All 10 of you should finish, have a beer, and then I would come in a little bit later. But at the end of the race, I pronounced that I came in third. And I'm so proud because I came in third. Because the other 7 stopped running at the half-mile mark and sat down and had their beer early, and I came in third. This is what's happening with the jobless rate, okay? Jobless rate has come down. Why has it come down? Well, we did hire 120,000 people in the last month for November. Probably a lot of them are working at the mall right now, and they won't keep their jobs. That's fine. That's fine. And the good news in this is that what we don't see behind the scenes is that a lot of government workers, city, county, state, federal, a lot of those agencies are paring back and paring back and paring back. And really what it means is they're not hiring new people. They're not necessarily firing. They're just not hiring. But the percentage of government workers is going down, down, down. And the nice thing is that's not putting the unemployment rate up. So we're kind of holding our own, and yet what we're doing is we're switching people off the government payroll and putting them into the private sector, which I think is a good thing. So we're not really seeing that, but we're not seeing it as a negative number either. But what the market has finally figured out, and maybe you and I will also figure it out, is when they say that unemployment went down, what they really mean is a whole bunch of people decided, you know what? Screw it. I am not going to look for a job anymore. I have smashed my head against the wall, the garage door, the bumper. I'm done smashing my head against the wall for right now. So I'm just going to quit looking. Now, does that mean we hired the guy? No. It just means he finally said, I've had enough, or she said, I've had enough. So now we're not. So in the weird world of politics, we're just not going to count them anymore as people that are unemployed because they quit, right? They just quit running around the track. So and the market is finally now looks through the numbers and say, you know what? We recognize that probably there's about 14 or 15% of us that aren't working. Now, I bet if I called that man or woman up and said, hey, I got a $40,000 a year job for you. You want to come to work tomorrow? They'd be there tomorrow, dressed and ready to roll. So when they say unemployment went down, it's kind of a false sense of security, isn't it? It's a political number. But I do think the good news within all of that mess is that we are seeing a shift away from higher government employees and more into the public sector, which I think is good. in the long run, and that's not causing the number to go up. So if you want to pick any good news out of there, and there is some good news in there, last year this time we didn't see nearly as many temporary hires for the holidays as we did this year. So that's good too. Business is growing. There's been like 3 or 4 weeks in a row of very good economic news, and you see the stock market's picking up because of it. So it's not meant to be a downer. It's just meant to be, let's realize what we're talking about here when we say that unemployment is down. So we got a bunch of texts coming in there too. I'll read through those during the break. We got one more quiz question, I believe. Did I get to this one yet? No. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. Or you can text me at 441140. This goes along with the shopping. How do I phrase this without giving it away? Women account for 85% of all consumer purchases of this product. I guess that's as best as I can say, because that's how the question was written. Women account for 85% of all consumer purchases of this product. And I'll give you, it's a clothing, in the clothing line. Okay? It's not fruit juice, not iPads, Porsches, Christopher Law. Christopher works for me. Christopher Law's clothing. Women account for 85% of this clothing item. 339-1140. 1-800-920-1140 if you know the answer to that. Or you could text me at 441140. And I'll try to read through some of these texts as they barrel in here. I can't read and talk at the same time. That's why I'm not on TV. Besides the fact I'm fat and ugly. But that's a different rule. This is radio, baby. I'm as good looking as you want me to be. He'll be right back.